Right now, an I-Team exclusive. Did New Jersey Senator Robert Mendendez use his power and influence in Washington to help a wealthy donor's daughter who had been accused of visa fraud?
News 4 New York at 5:30 starts now. Well, tonight there are new questions for U.S. Senator Robert Mendendez. Good evening. I'm Stacey Bell in for Sheba Russell tonight.
And I'm David Ushery. So why did he try to help a woman get into the country after she'd been accused of visa fraud and was banned from traveling to the U.S.?
News 4 chief investigative reporter Jonathan Dienst is here with more for us. Jonathan?
She is the daughter of a fugitive criminal banker from Ecuador, and U.S. officials have accused her of visa fraud. Her father is convicted in absentia in Ecuador of embezzling millions. Senator Mendendez has repeatedly tried to help them both, even contacting then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. And in the daughter's case, Clinton's office recommended the woman be allowed into the U.S. Estefania Isaias now lives in this luxury high-rise in Miami. But some current and former U.S. officials question how she was able to get a visa to come here. That's because they say she was barred from traveling to the U.S. back in 2007. Her alleged fraud, claiming that immigrant women she was bringing to the U.S. were personal business assistants. U.S. officials say she was really bringing those immigrant women to Florida to work as maids at her parents' Coral Gables mansion. Sources familiar with the matter say U.S. consular officials in Ecuador categorized the alleged wrongdoing as a form of human smuggling. After getting banned in 2007, Estefania Isaias was able to obtain numerous short-term waivers from the consulate in Ecuador. Part of the reason? To allow her to visit her dad, who is living and running businesses in Miami while fighting extradition to Ecuador for banking crimes. 4 years later, in 2011, U.S. consular officials decided there should be no more waivers for her, no more trips into the U.S. Why? Sources familiar with the matter tell News 4 that U.S. officials in Ecuador had grown increasingly concerned about allegations of wrongdoing surrounding the Isaias family, including questions about Estefania Isaias' alleged visa fraud. The Isaias turned to Senator Robert Mendendez for help. Family members in Florida made campaign donations, more than $11,000 to the New Jersey senator's 2012 campaign, and more than $125,000 to the Obama Victory Fund and the Democratic National Committee.
Look at the number.
Current and former officials say Senator Mendendez and his staff repeatedly contacted Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and her chief of staff, Cheryl Mills. In one letter, Senator Mendendez wrote to Secretary Clinton in support of Estefania Isaias' efforts to get a waiver, saying she should be allowed to come and work in the U.S. The senator telling the secretary he was personally aware of Ms. Isaias' circumstances and believed she would comply with all legal requirements. This former U.S. ambassador to Ecuador says such efforts by a senator on behalf of a foreign national, especially one accused of visa fraud, would be quite unusual, especially for an applicant who is not a constituent of the member of Congress.
I know that this case is of interest.
The current U.S. ambassador says he's prohibited from discussing specific visa cases and was not privy to the senator's contacts with Secretary Clinton's office. He did say at the consulate level, decisions to ban travel or grant a waiver is based on the law. So there's no special treatment for people who are rich and who can make campaign contributions?
I'm not going to comment on specific cases. I'll say again that our consular officers overseas follow U.S. law in the issuance or denial of visas.
Hillary Clinton and her former chief of staff, Cheryl Mills, declined to be interviewed about the Isaias visa matter. A spokesman for both issued this statement. There are rigorous processes in place for matters such as these, and they were followed. Nothing more, nothing less. After Senator Mendendez contacted Secretary Clinton's office in 2012, the State Department recommended that the Department of Homeland Security approve the visa waiver, and it did, overruling the decision made by the U.S. consulate. In the first 6 months of that same year, Estefania's mother donated more than $105,000 to the Democrats.
That's extraordinary.
Jan Brown is a chair of the New York State Bar Immigration Committee. We showed him what we found.
It's either just what a lucky coincidence for the campaign contributor, or it could be concluded that that's impropriety.
A State Department spokesman says they receive more than 100,000 inquiries from Congress each year about consular-related issues. Some come directly to the Secretary's office, and each is reviewed on the merits. A spokesman for the senator says unnamed sources are again peddling garbage to smear the senator, and that campaign cash played no role in this case. Our office believed Ms. Isaias was wrongly denied approval of a waiver allowing her to work in the U.S., a waiver she had received 6 times before any engagement by our office. The senator's office says, along with other members of Congress, they asked state and DHS to conduct an independent review of the waiver denial. Estefania Isaias did not return calls for comment, and her father, reached by phone, called this story ridiculous. The senator's statement says his office handled this case no differently than we have thousands of other immigration-related requests over the years. But in Brown's opinion, it's rare to see such high-level interest in this kind of visa dispute, and he says millions of immigrants would welcome this kind of help.
Hopefully he'll be on the phone contacting the Secretary of Homeland Security for each one and the State Department for each one.
Senator Mendendez is also one of several politicians who wrote letters on behalf of Estefania's father and uncle, the fugitive criminal bankers, who were seeking to help to block extradition back to Ecuador. The brothers deny any wrongdoing and say they are victims of political persecution by Ecuador's government. This, as Senator Mendendez remains the subject of a federal criminal investigation, in part for his accepting private jet trips from a Florida eye doctor who was seeking the senator's help with certain business matters. The senator later repaid the costs of those trips.